Midnight Man, the forbidden game that haunts you until 3:33 a.m. Hannah stared at the old oak tree, its twisted branches reaching toward the sky like skeletal fingers. Rumor had it that at midnight, something was waiting there. An entity, a game, a reminder of the darkness hidden within Willow Creek. Breathing in the crisp autumn air felt heavy in her lungs. The town, once a tapestry of childhood memories, felt foreign now. It pulsed with whispered tales and silent judgments. She shivered as the locals eyed her, their faces a mix of sympathy and something darker, deeper. 3 days had passed since the news of her father's unexpected death shattered her life. Now, at 27, she was a stranger in a familiar world, cradled by mountains and secrets. Each footstep echoed on the cobbled streets, an uncomfortable reminder that she was alone, grief casting shadows where warmth used to thrive. In the attic of her parents' home, dust floated like lost souls. The air was thick. P., the new mayor of Willow Creek, bore a charismatic smile that masked something darker. The uneasy flicker in his eyes told her he didn't want her digging too deep. Memories of late-night games and whispered promises ignited tension in the air. "Thou should be careful. Some things are best left buried." The warning struck her like lightning, thrilling yet terrifying. A wave of betrayal rippled through her, twisting her stomach. No one was willing to talk. No one wanted to uproot the truth. And yet, the letters burned in her hands, unraveling a web of deception that held her family in its grasp. Each line she read felt like a punch, reshaping the image of the father she thought she knew. But just as she started piecing things together, a sudden knock reverberated through the house. It broke the silence, sending chills down her spine. Who could it be? Peeking through the curtain, her heart raced. A stranger stood at the door, clutching another letter sealed with an unfamiliar stamp. It was as if he recognized her, but quickly masked it with urgency. He held out the letter, fingers trembling. She took it, the paper crisp with something more than just ink. "I need you to read this," he urged, glancing over his shoulder, as if shadows might come alive and grasp him. Who are you?" she stammered, clutching the letter, as her heart drummed like a war march. He was disheveled, yet striking, with dark hair falling over his forehead. Shadows clung to his face, amplifying the sharpness of his features. "I don't have time to explain," he whispered, urgency thick in the air. "Just read it. It's about your father, and more." Her brow furrowed, confusion churning inside her. "What do you know about my father?" She could feel Ethan's presence behind her, looming like a dark cloud. The tension felt like chains wrapping around her throat, constricting tighter with each passing second. "Please," the stranger's voice trembled. "There's more at stake than you aware." The ink seemed to pulse with accusation. He made choices that put his family in danger. "What is this?" Hannah gasped, her hands shaking. Ethan stepped closer, his voice barely a whisper. "You shouldn't read that." But the letter had a grip on her. She continued, "There are those who seek revenge. They believe he betrayed them. If they find you—" Suddenly, the door slammed behind her, a gust of wind sweeping in, and the stranger's eyes darted to the side. Time slowed. She felt a presence brewing just beyond the threshold, thick with malice. "You have to go," he breathed urgently. "Right now." "What about my father?" Hannah's heart felt like it was breaking in half. "What did he do?" Ethan stepped forward, his face heavy with concern. "Hannah, this isn't a game. You're poking a bear that's been sleeping for too long. You need to stop. Please. But the fire ignited in her chest. She needed answers. What are you not telling me? Who is this they? Before anyone, startled, they turned as the sound of footsteps thundered closer. The stranger seized her wrist, urgency clawing at his features. We need to leave, now. Hannah hesitated. But my home. Your home isn't safe. He pulled her towards the door, and a guttural voice cut through the air just as they stepped into the night. Hannah, stop. It was Ethan. His voice, once smooth and inviting, now dripped with cold firmness. There was an intensity in his gaze that knocked the breath from her lungs. You're making a mistake. I have to know the truth, she shouted back. Do you really want to uncover your father's past? You might not like what you find. His words were laced with a warning that chilled her further. Just then, the atmosphere shifted. A scream sliced through the night, harsh and shrill, and the stranger flinched. Panic spread like wildfire. She glanced back, saw the broken glass on the floor, shimmering like dangerous stars. No longer could she feel just whatever was happening felt larger than either of them, like they danced on the edge of chaos. Then, a flash caught her eye. The candlelight flickered behind them, as if to ask who might be behind the veil of truth. Suddenly, a familiar but haunting figure emerged. A woman, silhouette aglow in the dark. You shouldn't have come back, she called out, her voice echoing familiarity, sharp and unforgiving. The moment stilled. Hannah stumbled backward, recognition crashing over her. It was her mother. No, it couldn't be. She'd buried her mother years ago, memories tangled in grief. The magazine clippings, the flowers on the gravestone, it all came rushing back. You. The word caught in her throat. You're dead. Am I? The woman's tone swung between bitter and sweet, ringing a bell of painful memories. You need to listen, Hannah. Your father tried to protect you from this, but you were drawn to it, like a moth to a flame. Hannah, don't listen, Ethan warned, stepping between. It wasn't just her father who held secrets. Now, her mother stood there, form flickering like a light about to extinguish. They're coming for you, Hannah. Don't let them take you. What do you mean? Fear pooled in her gut, and she tightened her grip on the letter in her hand. Your destiny, it's intertwined with those who lurk in the shadows. In that heartbeat, the wind howled, a storm brewing. A sharp laughter echoed in the darkness, sinister and familiar. A matching sound to the rhythm of her own heart. Hannah felt the world shift beneath her, everything she knew dissolving. Was her father truly the man she believed him to be? What did her mother mean by they? The stranger again tugged at her, a plea in his eyes. We can't stay. If you want to know the truth, we have to move, now. As he pulled her away, the weight of betrayal and fear crashed in waves against her soul. She looked back at Ethan, desperation spilling over. Hannah stumbled into the night, the stranger's grip anchoring her as they dashed away from her childhood home. The wind whipped around them, hair whipping against her face like angry fingers. Every heartbeat felt like an alarm bell, the urgency of the moment pushing her to move faster. But no matter how hard she ran, the weight of dread hung in the air, thick and suffocating. What do you know about my father? She gasped. glancing back at the fleeting silhouette of Ethan. What was he involved in? I can't explain everything just yet, the stranger panted, pulling her deeper into the shadows of the trees. Trust me, we need to get to safety first. Who are you? A mixture of fear and confusion twisted through her. She felt like a marionette, the strings pulled by forces she couldn't comprehend. Why do you care? I care because it's about more than just your father. There is something dark at play. His eyes flickered, reflecting the dim light of the mow. Hannah's heart raced as she spun around, only to see a figure standing at the edge of the trees. It was Ethan, his eyes gleaming with an intensity she'd never seen before. "Hannah!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the night like a knife. "You're making a terrible mistake." The stranger tugged at her. "We have to go, now!" But Hannah felt rooted to the spot. "No, I want to know the truth. Why are you warning me, Ethan?" Her voice wavered, caught between anger and fear. There was something in his gaze, something she couldn't place. "Hannah, don't listen to him. He's not trustworthy." Ethan's voice was strained, and the panic swirling around him felt real. "You don't know who he really is." "What do you mean?" She turned to the stranger, confusion slamming into her. "What's going on?" Before he could respond, a shattering sound pierced the quiet. They turned as a loud crash echoed from Hannah's childhood home, a window breaking. The sound sharp and final. "But she whispered, fear creeping in like a dark shadow. "More than you realize," the stranger said gravely. Before anyone could react from the broken window, another figure emerged. A woman, dressed in a flowing white dress, hair wild in the wind. Her face was masked in shadow, but the air vibrated with an otherworldly tension. "Hannah," she beckoned, voice smooth like velvet, yet edged with a coldness that made her shiver. "Stay back!" The stranger stepped forward, arms raised protectively. "You don't know what you're doing!" But the woman laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the trees. "Oh, but dear child, it's not about what you want." Her eyes glinted. "It's about your father's legacy." Recognition hit Hannah like a wave. "Mom?" The word escaped her lips before she could stop it. Memories tumbled through her like a rushing river. "But you're dead." "I've always been." The voice was the softest whisper, yet it resonated deep within her. "And now it's—" "What does she mean?" he demanded, his eyes flicking between them. "You're mixed up in this. Hannah, don't listen to her lies." But a rush of adrenaline surged through Hannah. "Lies!" she shouted back. "Who are you?" The woman smiled, a glimmer of connection lighting her eyes. "You have the power to see, dear. The power to change what has been hidden." Ethan's face paled. "Hannah, you can't trust her. You don't understand the risks." But when Hannah looked back at her mother, the truth flickered in her chest. This wasn't about trust. It was about legacy. What did Dad do? What's the secret? "Many moons ago, thy father chose a path that would forever entangle our family with those who wish to control this town." The words were heavy, filled with an ancient sorrow. He aligned himself with those in the shadows, a pact to protect, but it came with a price he never revealed to you. The air grew thick with tension. "A pact?" Hannah blurted, heart thundering. "I don't understand," she yelled. "What does it have to do with me?" "Everything," The words dripped with gravity. You are the key they need. The lineage carries a legacy stronger than thou knowest. The shadows of the trees hummed, and Hannah felt herself spiraling. No! You're saying I'm a target? Yes, her mother replied, voice trembling yet fierce. A target, but also a protector. It's time to awaken what lies dormant within thee. The stranger stepped closer, urgency creasing his brow. Hannah, we're out of time. We need to go. But Hannah stood frozen. Anguish and anxiety knit together as she felt the weight of choices she never made rest upon her shoulders. The past rushed back, her desires for connection, love, power. Questions swirled in her mind like autumn leaves caught in a storm. A protector? What does that mean? She needed clarity, but each answer only entangled her deeper in confusion. The spectral woman extended her hand toward Hannah. Fingertips B. No, I need to know now. A sudden shout rose from behind her. Ethan broke through the noise, desperation pooling in his eyes. Hannah, listen to me. You don't know the truth about your mother or me. It was more than a plea. There was a crack in his voice, something raw and visceral. But she couldn't grasp it. The trust she'd had, now questioned, felt like sand slipping through her fingers. Tell me, what do you know? She demanded, heart hammering. Before he could reply, the ground trembled and a dark shadow leaped from the trees. A figure cloaked in darkness stood in the clearing, eyes glowing with malice. Fear gripped Hannah's insides like a vice. The entity radiated danger, exuding a presence that demanded attention. Enough of this, it growled, a voice hissing through clenched teeth. The time for games is over. You've meddled long enough. The world shifted again. A sudden flash of light erupted from the shadows, and with it came a force that slammed. Ethan shouted her name, but it faded into chaos as she struggled beneath the weight, darkness pressing in from all sides. Was this the end? And then, an unexpected wave of clarity washed over her, a realization that would change everything. Mom, are you part of this? The question slipped from her lips before she could cage it, the tremor of betrayal coloring her tones. The shadows laughed, the sound chilling. She has always been part of it, my darling. In an instant, she understood. The bonds of family were laced with deception, and the love she thought she knew began to unravel, every strand tugging at her heart. Your mother's truth isn't what you expect, the cloaked figure hissed, looming closer. You've opened a door that should have stayed closed. And with that, the scene exploded into chaos. Shadows clashed, hearts raced, and truths ignited all around her. The darkness consumed, swallowed her world whole, leaving only the echo of a mother's voice and the promise. The voice dripped disdain, oozing from the shadows. Your family has always been tainted with secrets, but you have a choice. You may choose to reject it or embrace your legacy. Hannah, don't! Ethan shouted again, stepping forward, his eyes wide with fear. They want you to fall into their trap. But it didn't matter. As Hannah turned back to face her mother, the moment crystallized. You were supposed to protect me. She felt the betrayal boiling in her chest, a raging fire threatening to consume her. Protect you from what? Her mother's voice blended with the shadows, a haunting echo. From the truth, or from the destiny that awaits you? Please, just tell me. But before she could process another word, the cloaked figure lunged. It was swift, striking like a serpent, and Hannah's breath hitched as it transformed into a rush of darkness, lunging towards her with blistering speed. No! The stranger, her companion, pushed her aside, shielding her with high. "Why?" she screamed, voice cracking, agony clawing at her. "What did you do?" Her mother's expression shifted to one of profound sorrow. "I tried to warn you, but now it's too late. You've been marked." "Marked?" Hannah gasped, stepping back, the words like heavy stones hitting her gut. "What do you mean?" The answer came not from her mother, but from Ethan, his presence looming closer, vulnerability shining in his eyes, even as shadows danced around him. "You were never just an innocent bystander, Hannah. Your father made a covenant, a deal for power, and it's why they're after you now. Because you're part of it." "No!" Denial surged within her like poison. "You're lying! This can't be real!" But the truth hung like a heavy fog, suffocating and undeniable. The shock of revelation crashed over her like an icy wave. "You just want to use me. You want me to be part of whatever twisted game this is. Listen to me!" Ethan stepped closer, urgency painted on his face. "Why? It's infected with this dark secret. He thought he could protect you by hiding it. But it's time to wake up." The wind howled again, a warning, and she felt a flicker of doubt. "But you..." Her words caught in her throat as a new figure emerged from the trees, a flash of silver and darkness. Hannah's breath hitched as recognition flared in her chest. "Grandma?" It was her mother's mother, a woman she barely remembered, but felt an inexplicable connection to. "What are you doing here?" "Drawn back to the darkness, my child." Her grandma looked at her sternly, a powerful gaze piercing through. "You must confront what your family hast unleashed. You need to find the heart of this web, a heart that hath been hidden from thee this whole time." "Hidden? What art thou talking about?" Hannah felt disoriented, like she was tumbling through a maze with no exit. The weight of expectation clung to her, heavy like a fog. But just as she opened her mouth to demand more, a sinister laughter. Had she truly believed she was living a life free from darkness? "Hannah," the figure continued, "thou think this is about thy father? No, child, it is about thee. Thou embody the very essence of Willow Creek, its past, present, and future." "What does that mean?" Each word felt like pulling teeth. "What am I supposed to do?" In a flash, everything shifted. The energy grew more volatile, an anguished scream erupting from deep within the shadows. Hannah's heart raced, dread clawing at her insides. The choice she was supposed to make hung heavy in the air, and the gravity of the situation crushed her. "Thou canst not hide from it," the cloaked figure advanced, in intensity fueling each step. "Embrace what thou art. Join us, or perish." "No!" Hannah shouted, her voice stunning in its fervor. But clarity crashed through her. "Thou'lt never own me." Then the figure laughed, a bitter, twisted sound that echoed, vibrating the branches around them. "Then prepare for the storm that..." Her grandmother's soothing presence seemed farther away. Just as Ethan stepped forward, fear scintillating in his eyes. "Stay with me," he cried out. Then came a blinding flash. It illuminated the clearing, casting long shadows that twisted like the flames of betrayal. Everything went white, and in that blinding instant, Hannah felt her connection to all the emotions, the fear, the love, the anger, shifting, fracturing, unraveling. She was falling. tumbling through a vortex of memories and truths. And then, just as suddenly, darkness enveloped her like a shroud. Moments passed, or did centuries? She gasped, heaving air as she landed, feet touching solid ground again. But the familiar landscape had changed. The town of Willow Creek, skewed and twisted, buildings bending in bizarre angles, colors bleeding into each other like distortions of a fever dream. Hannah? The voice pulled her back to clarity. It was Ethan, but he looked different. The concept loomed larger than life, crackling with energy that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. Yes, Ethan grasped her arm, urgency flashing on his face. You could tip the balance. You're more powerful than you realize. You must decide. The fragmented memory of her mother's and grandmother's words filled her mind. This wasn't just about secrets and legacies. It was about her choices, her power, and embracing the darkness or pushing it away. Who would she become if she chose to embrace it? Her heart raced double time. I can't, she murmured, thinking of everything she loved and everything she feared losing. I don't want any of this. A shriek echoed through the air, a new force rising, and intuition told her it was connected to whatever choices she'd hidden from herself. She felt the weight of thousands of threads pulling at her mind, thrumming with power, and she knew her path lay before her. Yet, remember, this was only the beginning. What would you choose? The shadows whispered, swirling around her, claiming their hold like old friends returning. And Hannah stood, suspended between two worlds, ready to face the truth of who she truly was. But the answer? That remained hidden, like a riddle waiting to unfold in the tangled web of secrets long kept. Hannah stood at the edge of the swirling chaos, the figure of her mother flickering like a candle flame about to snuff out. The shadows around her pulsed with dark energy, the air thick with tension. Fear gripped her stomach like a vice. What would you choose? The darkness hissed again, its voice clawing at her sanity. It felt like the room was shrinking, closing in on her thoughts. But then, something changed. A rippling sensation ran through the shadows, as if they were alive, rearranging themselves. Hannah felt a deep thrum in her veins, a power awakening inside her. Yet she wasn't sure if it was her own or something. Then it happened. A white-hot light burst from the center of the darkness, like a supernova. Hannah shielded her eyes and stumbled. The energy surged, and in that moment, every scattered thought snapped into clarity. The shadows curled away from her, sensing the light, the air filled with a sharp crackling sound. Hannah! Ethan rushed forward, grabbing her arm. Get down! Before she could react, the light erupted outward. Screams echoed through the night as brilliant flames engulfed everything. The shape of her mother writhed within the fire, twisting in anguish. No, not anguish. It felt like a transformation. Just as quickly, the flames morphed into a wave of shimmering gold, sweeping across the clearing, washing over everything. When the light faded, the remnants of darkness vanished. Hannah blinked, stunned. She looked around, breathless. The trees stood tall and vibrant in the aftermath, as if the shadows had never existed. But something was off. She turned back. It was Hannah's mother, but her features were different, more defined, more fierce. The gentleness she remembered was replaced with unwavering strength. "What have you done?" Hannah urged, looking from Ethan to the woman and back. "This isn't right. You're different." Her mother laughed, a sound that echoing off the trees. "I've always been this way. I just hid it from you." The realization hit Hannah like a freight train. But it was too soon to process. "What do you mean?" "You're the key to our legacy, Hannah. But so was I. You'll understand soon enough." "No, I won't. I don't want any part of this," Hannah shouted, fury mixing with panic. But her mother advanced, brushing past Ethan, who stood frozen in shock. "You've awakened your potential, and now you must choose. Join me, or remain a pawn to forces that wish to use you." Hannah's heart thundered in her chest. "You mean the darkness? The pact?" A fierce light sparkled in her mother's eyes. "That darkness, it's power. Power to protect, power to change. But why?" The words flew from Hannah's throat. "All this time, I thought you were gone. I thought you were dead." Her mother's expression softened for a flicker, just for a heartbeat. "I made sacrifices, Hannah. I had to. You were more important than your understanding. I tried to keep you safe from my side of the game." Everything felt like a twisted knot in her gut. "Why wouldn't you tell me? Why hide it from me my whole life?" "You weren't ready, but you are now," the woman proclaimed, strength radiating from her. "No, you don't know what I'm ready for. I feel trapped." A loud crack echoed, slicing through the tension. Everyone turned to the sound. From the other side of the clearing, a group emerged, dressed in dark clothing, faces hidden behind masks. Their footsteps crunched on the fallen leaves, a menacing rhythm that echoed menacing intent. "Looks like the game is still afoot," one said, voice gravelly yet. "Hannah, thy time hath come." "What? Who art thou?" Hannah stammered, confusion mingling with rising dread. "We art thy true family." Another masked figure stepped forward, voice dripping with sinister calm. "Thou hast been living a lie, child. Thy mother canst not protect thee any more. The truth shall set thee free or consume thee." The air thickened with tension. Hannah looked between her mother and the strangers, her heart racing. "Thou art lying. This hath to be a trick." "Trick?" Her mother's voice cut through the fear, suddenly rigid with authority. "They're not lying. They are telling a part of the truth, the part your father actively concealed to keep you from the world thou belongs to." "What world?" Hannah pressed, confusion morphing into anger. "What do you mean?" But without warning, the masked figures lunged. As darkness encroached, everything exploded in a frenzy of movement. "Run!" Ethan shouted, pulling her away. And they ran, adrenaline surging through her. Pum! But the shouting behind them rang louder, shattering the silence of the night. "You can't escape your fate." Hannah's heart raced, pounding in her chest like a hammer. The urgency sharpened her focus. "Ethan, what do we do?" "I don't know. Just keep running," he gasped, breathless. "We need to find a safe place." As they dove deeper into the woods, the shadows loomed with a life of their own. Ripples of darkness swirled, whispers clawing at the back of her mind. Then, a piercing scream split the dim night air, louder than everything surrounding them. "Ethan!" Hannah shouted as she glanced over her shoulder. "Did you hear that?" But he wasn't looking back. He was staring straight ahead, horror washing over his features. "Hannah!" Before she could respond, a figure stepped into view ahead of them, dressed in bright clothing but tarnished with darkness. A face that felt both familiar and haunting. Mom? Hannah's heart dropped. But the laughter that rang out was not he. You can't be. Thoughts raced through Hannah's mind, a jumble of disbelief and shock. Yes, darling, the woman said with a grin, echoing a dark warmth. I'm the truth you've been avoiding. I am the other half of your legacy. Everything shifted again, crashing like waves against her consciousness. No, you're wrong. But the woman stepped forward, catching Hannah in a gaze that felt like ice. I was always here, always part of the plan, and now, her voice dripped with malice. We will see what you really are. Hannah felt the ground shift again, and this time it was felt through her body, vibrating deep within her. You! And within that moment of realization, clarity hit her with a force that shattered her understanding. My other self, she breathed, voice trembling with disbelief. But then the ground trembled violently once more, darkness swirling around them like a tempest. Everything she thought she understood shattered like glass as the laughter echoed once more. And that's when the true chaos began. Hannah stood in the clearing, her breath caught in her throat as the shock crashed over her like an unyielding tide. Ethan's voice echoed in her mind, slicing through her disbelief. You didn't really think you could escape your fate, did you? Everything felt like it was teetering on the edge of a cliff. Confusion, fear, and anger swirled inside her, fighting for dominance. She glared at him, betrayal clawing at her chest. You've been part of this all along. Why? Because, he said, his eyes darkening, it's time for you to reclaim your birthright. Hannah shook her head, words failing her. I don't want any part of this, she shouted, the words spilling out in waves of desperation. Around them, the forest creaked ominously, the trees shifting like restless souls. The shadows loomed larger, and the air felt thick with something dark, an undeniable tension wrapping around them. Your father knew this day would come, Ethan said. It's not just a weapon. It's a choice. Use it. The urgency in his voice vibrated through her, and she found herself stepping back, feeling like the ground beneath her might swallow her whole. But at what cost? Hannah! The urgent voice of her mother cut through the chaos. You have to decide. And just like that, the tension broke. A low rumble echoed in the air, the sound deep and foreboding. The ground shook, and Hannah stumbled. The masked figures behind her moved as if directed by an invisible string. They were closing in, their intentions rippling through the night like a cursed wind. The one with the sharp voice stepped forward, his figure towering above the rest. Enough of this. Hannah, come with us. Join us in the shadows, and we can protect our world. Protect? Hannah laughed, but it came out bitter. Or control. Both. The voice was tinged with anger. Your family has ruled from the shadows for generations. Don't you see? This is your birthright, she shouted, feeling the fire build within her. But before she could process her next move, the shadows shifted. Suddenly, a dark light erupted from the forest's edge, blinding and painful. It surged toward them, a wave of pure nothingness, and in that chaos, Hannah felt her instincts kick in. Run! She screamed, grabbing Ethan's arm, dragging him back the way they came. But the darkness followed, a ravenous beast, eager to consume their escape. They sprinted through the trees, raw fear propelling them forward. Behind them, the laughter of her mother echoed, no longer warm, but filled with something sinister. You can't run from yourself, Hannah. Hannah's heart raced. What does that mean? She gasped, glancing over her shoulder. The laughter twisted into a cacophony. Shadows stretched toward them, grasping for her without mercy. "We have to go," Ethan cried, pulling her along, but nothing made sense anymore. "We can figure it out later, just move!" They burst into. "Hannah!" Ethan shouted, barely able to hold her back. But something surged within her, something primal and raw. "No!" she yelled, feeling the power rise like a tide. The shadows recoiled, darkness flaring in response. The energy within her began to flow, and for a moment, the world fell silent. Everything froze. Hannah's hands glowed with a strange light, warmth flooding her veins. And then she unleashed it. The ground shook again, this time cracking with blinding light. No longer the suffocating darkness, but a glowing wave that washed over everything. The trees, the ground, the masked figures poised to attack. Brightness shattered the encroaching shadows, sending them retreating with haunting wails. "Hannah!" Ethan's voice was full of disbelief. "You did it!" But it didn't bring her comfort. The fear still clawed inside her. "I don't know how." Panic threaded through her. "Does it matter?" But before they could catch their breath, the dark figure of her mother, "What have you done?" The woman stepped forward, the light from Hannah creating an eerie tableau. "That's not your mother, Hannah," Ethan whispered, horror creeping into his voice. "What do you mean?" The figure laughed, a sound that twisted in the air. "I am the dark legacy your parents wished to hide, the very essence of this family's corruption." "I'm nothing like you!" Hannah shouted, voice cracking with anger. "You can't control me!" "Oh, but that's where you're mistaken, child," the woman said, coldness in her voice. "You're mine. You have always been. The powers you wield are born from the same darkness." And as she stepped into the light, the truth of the unfolding chaos crashed over Hannah like an icy wave. In that moment, the room spun, revelations crashing against her. You're not my mother!" "No, let me show you the truth." With that, the dark figure waved the shimmering object, and the air crackled. A rift opened beneath her, swirling colors, and images flashed before her. Her mother, her father, their faces twisting in pain. Secrets, lies, betrayals. Their true natures revealed in distorted visions that sent terror racing through her veins. She saw her parents making choices, dark deals being struck, and whispered names haunting the night. "Your father didn't just hide the truth, he created it," the figure laughed, reveling in the chaos. "And now you're the last link to this cursed family." A tremor shot through her. The realization hit her like a frigid bolt. "No, I won't let you." But it was too late. The ground shimmered, and with a final powerful surge, Hannah felt the darkness seep into her, the flickering light of her own power struggling against it. She was being pulled into the depths of a family legacy she never understood, a legacy of darkness. Then suddenly, just as the chaos threatened to consume her whole, an unexpected flash of warmth wrapped around her. From the depths of that dark rift, a voice, "I won't let you take this from me." But the figure only laughed, its voice cold and cruel. "You cannot escape the truth within you, my dear." Then everything shattered. A blinding light consumed the clearing, obliterating the shadows and the figures that had threatened to engulf her. As the brilliance faded, a new silence fell, and Hannah stood alone. Ethan was gone. The shadowy figures dissolved. Only the echo of her own heartbeat remained. Hannah. Then a whisper danced through the air, familiar yet distant. You are stronger than you think. Panic tightened in her chest. Ethan, Mom! She felt hollow, a deep chasm opening in her heart as she realized the truth. Trapped within the fragments of her shattered world, doubts ran rampant. Was she truly stronger? Or was she just a puppet dancing on strings unknown? Suddenly, the ground beneath her flickered again. A new sensation tingled at her fingertips, coursing through her. Fear and strength battled once more within. But she was done being a pawn, and whatever came next, she would face it head-on. With the echoes of the past swirling in her mind, she took a deep breath, stepping forward into the unknown. The night was silent now, but she could feel shadows stirring again, whispering secrets she had yet to uncover. What would she face next? Only time would tell. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about breaking free. And as she moved forward, the winds howled around her, carrying the promise of something vast and terrible. Something that might change everything. Hannah stood at the edge of the clearing, catching her breath. Her heart thundered in her chest, the aftershocks of the confrontation still reverberating through her. The light had seemed blinding, almost purging, but the darkness around her was still palpable. She could feel its weight resting thickly in the air, a constant reminder of everything that had spiraled out of control. The shadow. The call came like a whisper in the night, sharp and sudden, snapping her from her spiral of despair. She whirled around, eyes wide. It was her mother's voice. No, her real mother, the one she remembered. "Mom!" she shouted, heart soaring, relief flooding through her like fresh rain on parched earth. But as she bolted toward the sound, dread clung to her heart. Is that really you? And then she saw her, a figure, standing behind a thicket of trees, her silhouette drenched in moonlight and shadow. But something wasn't right. "No, Hannah, stay back." Ethan's voice cut through the air, panic, rocky and raw. He emerged from the underbrush, face pale as he reached out, trying to pull her away. "Don't get close, it's not her." "What do you mean?" But the shadow of her mother flickered closer, a smile stretching across her face. "Dear, you've come so far. You're home now." Home. Hannah felt a chill creep down her spine. "You're not my home. You left me." "Left? No. Hannah, please." The voice twisted with something she couldn't place, a reality creeping in that felt heavy, that felt wrong. "You have to understand, my love. I was trying to protect you." Suddenly, Ethan jumped between them, body tense, fists clenched. "You're not her mother. You're something else." The shadow smirked, a glimmering in her eyes. "Oh, Ethan, it's not just about her. It's about all of us." "What do you mean?" Hannah's voice trembled, confusion swirling within her like storm clouds. "The pact your father made." The figure stepped forward, the light flickering against her dark form. "It affects all bloodlines, all of us, bound by choices made in fear and desperation." Heart pounding, Hannah shook her head. "You're lying. You've always been a shadow." "Am I?" The dark figure laughed softly, a sound that echoed with slight unhinged glee. "Isn't it so easy to forget what you don't want to see?" With a sudden rush, the shadows surged from all corners. Chaos rapidly expanded. No escape. She reached for Ethan, but her fingers grasped only air. Then, a blinding light encased her, the weight of darkness trembling away. In this light, she saw images flashing before her. Ones she thought she'd forgotten. Happy moments with her mother. Her father smiling at her, warmth radiating as he introduced her to the world of childhood. And then, horrifying truths flashed like snapshots. A man in a dark suit, shaking hands with her father. Shadowy figures lurking in the alleyways of Willow Creek, whispering threats. The echoes of their past views surfaced, each frame twisted with betrayal, secrets. "No, no!" she screamed, anguish clawing at her throat. Memories clashed as the vision began to spiral away, leaving her gasping for breath. Suddenly, everything fell silent, dark and heavy. When she opened her eyes, she stood in another place entirely. Gone was the clearing. Gone was the night sky. Instead, she found herself in a dimly lit room, resembling a cellar. What is this place? Hannah stumbled back, instincts screaming. "You brought me here." "We brought you." Her mother's tone was even, laced with something ominous. "You see, you have always been more significant than you know. You contain power, Hannah. A power rooted in our blood." Confusion twisted through her. "What do you mean?" "You are the key, Hannah. The way forward and the way back. Only you can unlock the past and forge ahead." The words sent a ripple of dread through her, feeding into all her worst fears. Forge ahead where? And just then the shadows shifted around her, fast. A figure she didn't recognize emerged, a woman cloaked in darkness, her face obscured by shadows. But the presence was compelling. It felt like recognition, like home. "Know this," the woman said, voice low and ominous. "The truth you seek is many layers deep, and what you uncover will change everything." "What truth?" Hannah's chest tightened. "What do you know about my fa?" "Oh, child, I've known for years." The woman stepped closer, unmasking herself. It was a face that mirrored Hannah's own. "I am the last of our kind, the keeper of our family's darkest secret." Time slowed. Hannah staggered back, horror crashing over her. "What do you mean, last of our kind?" "I am your twin." The words took form like a physical blow. Separated at birth, hidden away for protection. "No." Hannah felt heat rise behind her eyes, shock blurring reality around her. "That can't be. It's not possible." "But it is," the twin replied, voice ringing with undeniable truth. "Your legacy is entwined with mine. Two sides of the same coin." Hannah's breath caught in her throat. Everything she believed, everything she fought for, shook beneath her. "Why were you hidden? Were my parents?" "They were afraid of their choices, afraid of the pact. They thought keeping us apart would protect us, but it only drew darker forces toward us." Panic struck. Silence. If this was real, all that she had known was suddenly upended. "Where is my mother?" she demanded, voice trembling. "Closer than you think." The twin waved her hand, and the shadows coiled tighter around Hannah. But know this, the moment she revealed herself, everything changed. Hannah felt the weight of the words wrap around her, thick and suffocating. "What does that mean?" "It means this," the twin replied, shifting closer until they were eye to eye. "Your mother serves a power beyond herself, and she's willing to sacrifice everything, including you, to keep the pact alive. Everything inside Hannah shattered then. Her love, her trust, the very foundation on which she built her understanding of her family's history. "No," she breathed, a whisper barely escaping her lips. "It can't be true." But her twin smiled, a knowing look darkening her features. "It is. And now, the choice is yours. Embrace your destiny and reclaim what was stolen, or continue to live in the—" But what did that truly mean? With the weight of her family's history hanging heavily around her neck, she knew one thing for sure. The world she had thought she knew was nothing but a reflection of the real horrors waiting to be unleashed. And as she clenched her fists, the light flickering dangerously between her fingers, she whispered to the darkness around her, "I will not be a victim anymore." What would she choose? What consequences awaited her? The silence thrummed with tension, and as the shadows began to circle again, Hannah's heart raced. The truth, the power, and the darkness were all tangled together now, waiting, and she had to decide. Hannah felt the pulse of energy racing through her veins, a whirlwind of every emotion she had ever known. The shadows danced around her, mocking her struggle, while her twin stood there, waiting, plotting. "Embrace your legacy, Hannah," the twin urged, a smirk playing on her lips. "It's your birthright." "No, I won't be a part of." Hannah gasped, torn between the figure that claimed to be her mother and the twin, who radiated a different kind of power. "You're lying!" The shadows pulsated, angry and restless. "Why do you resist?" the twin asked, stepping closer, her voice a serpentine whisper. "This is your chance to embrace who you truly are." Hannah's thoughts raced. She had to find a way out. She had to break free of this damn echo chamber of souls and shadows trying to claim her. "I'm not like you," she shouted, voice faltering. "I won't let you take control." "Control?" The twin laughed, a sound that echoed through the room like shattered glass. "You're already losing it, Hannah. Embrace what's yours." Just as Hannah felt the ground shudder again, the lights in the chamber flickered, like a candle about to be snuffed out. Panic bubbled within her. What was happening? The balance of the darkness felt precarious, and she clung to the shards of her sanity. "I will not become what you want. You can accept this and thrive." But just as the words left her mouth, a tremor rippled through the floor, startling everyone in the room. The walls trembled under unseen pressure, fissures creeping along the stone. "Uh-oh," the dark figure quipped, a gleam flickering in her eyes. "I think they're coming." Hannah's heart dropped. "Who is coming?" Before she could react, a blinding flash erupted from the deepest shadows, and a dark silhouette emerged, a larger figure than any of them, wrapped in shadows, yet unmistakably human. A voice, deep and resonant, filled the room. "Enough of this charade. Hurry, Hannah, get back." Ethan's voice, distant yet urgent, rang through the chaos, slicing into her hesitation. But her body felt heavy, as if the very essence of darkness was seeking to claim her. She tore her gaze from the emergence of the looming figure to check her surroundings, scanning for a path of escape amid the growing storm. The figure stepped into the diminishing light. "I never wanted you to find out. But now you have, and now you belong to me." "No," she staggered back, the truth sparking fear that coursed through her like fire, an unforgiving blaze igniting all her prior beliefs. "What have you done?" "Everything," he laughed, dark and unsettling, sending a chill racing up her spine. You are the ultimate sacrifice for our family's survival. Without you, we are all doomed. But, her mind scrambled for logical thoughts. You abandoned me. You chose to leave. I never asked for this power. But it's in your blood, he countered, eyes burning bright with shadowy flames. You were never meant for a simple existence. You are meant to wield the power of what we have built. This pact, this destiny, has been passed down for generations. Stop, Hannah cried, feeling her heart shatter under the weight of his betrayal. All this for power? For control? For what? The greater the sacrifice, the greater the reward. His voice softened. Together, we could rule this realm and the next. In that split second, as the room swayed, a wave of realization washed over her. She was no pawn. She was the game. No! Tears stung her eyes as she shook her head, pushing against the realization that threatened to drag her under. You're wrong. I'll never join you. Anger surged through him, dark tendrils erupting from his form, swirling around her in an alarming tempest. The shadows bounced and cracked around them, a storm of rage, casting monstrous shapes in the dark. But with a sudden burst, the flickering light from Hannah surged once again. The energy within her swelled, the warm glow battling the encroaching darkness. She summoned her will, fighting against the darkness that bound her father. "Ha!" he bellowed, furious but bewildered. "You dare challenge your blood?" "Yes, I dare challenge your legacy," she roared back, every ounce of power flowing through her. And as it erupted, a barrier formed between T. She couldn't lose him, even if he had betrayed her. She had to save him. And that's when everything went utterly dark. A sudden sound, a crack, reverberated through the hall as the shadows claimed his form, pulling him down into the abyss. Hannah felt the floor shake and splinter beneath her, her world facing collapse as she felt the chains of darkness tighten around her. "Dad!" she cried, desperation coursing through her, a flood of emotions. "No!" But the shadows only slithered tighter around his form, swallowing him whole, a dark abyss consuming the man she longed to know, the man she needed yet hated. "Hannah!" The voice echoed distantly now, yet it was laced with an eerie hum of satisfaction. "You had your chance." The darkness thrashed and erupted, escalating into a storm of unyielding power, a manifestation of everything she had feared. Beneath the raging chaos, a solitary glimmer caught her eye, just a small flicker of light. "Hannah, embrace it," her father's voice. She floated, feeling untethered, lost amid the chaos. But then a whisper rushed through the void, a familiar voice. "Hannah!" "Who?" she gasped, recognizing the warmth that curled around her heart. "I am here," the voice said softly, like a gentle breeze. "Always have been, and always will be." "Mom?" Hannah blinked, searching the shadows for signs of connection. "Yes, dear." The words coiled like soft tendrils of light around her. "This isn't the end. It's only the beginning." Hannah felt new strength blossom within her, hope intertwined with despair. "But they're gone. Everything I knew is gone." "No, my love. They still exist, even in shadows. You must choose to wield your truth." "Huh?" Confusion seized her again, squeezing her heart. "How can I know what's real?" "Trust your heart, Hannah. The darkness has no hold on those who choose light. Remember, your father loves you, even if he's lost his way. You must save him." With those words, She felt a soft pull. A rush of memories swirled around her, echoes of laughter, warmth, and connection, her heart racing as she felt the weight of her lineage surge through her once more. The darkness that enveloped her began to recede, shadows dancing on the edge of her perception. "I will," she whispered, the weight of truth starting to click into place. "I will save him." But as the shadows drew back, a whisper lapped at her ear. Something new, something darker. "You think you can return? You think you can save what is lost? You're wrong, Hannah." And this new sensation crept forward, creeping into the edges of her resolve, leaving her stunned. "Who are you?" she demanded, every breath feeling charged with defiance, even as panic bloomed in her chest. Then everything shifted again, a pull deeper than she felt before. "Time will tell," the voice sneered, tinged with a tint of wonder and malice, wrapping around her like fog. And then everything went black. But deep in that dark void, something. She shouted into the void, feeling the fire inside her reignite. She could reclaim her truth. She could choose light in the darkness. Suddenly, a pulse radiated through her, sending ripples against the fabric of the night, creating a tether, pulling her back to something real. She could feel it, an energy thrumming in her veins. And just like that, she snapped back into existence. Blinking violently, Hannah found herself back in the cellar. But the room was different. The shadows swayed around her, flickering against the walls in erratic patterns. They felt alive, eager, pushing against her thoughts. That distant realization grew heavy, and the energy around her pulsed with unanswered questions. "Hannah!" Ethan's voice broke through again, desperation lacing his words as he stumbled into view. "You're okay? I thought—" But before he could finish, the shadows responded with a roar, echoing with discontent. "Stay away from her!" the twin shouted, her own shadow anger bubble. "What's happening?" "We're at war," the twin shouted, defiance dancing in her voice now. "Hannah, listen to me," Ethan pleaded, stepping forward. The shadows began to whirl with increasing intensity, and he reached out, desperation coloring his words. "Don't let her manipulate you. Don't fall for this." Hannah took a shaky breath, heart racing as torrents of fear and fury surged within her. "I can fight this." But her resolve felt fragile, teetering dangerously. And just then, a blinding light burst forth amidst the shadowed chaos. Light flooded the chamber, illuminating every inch of the darkness, and dancing around them like shooting stars. For just a moment, it felt like hope had resurfaced. "Hannah!" Her mother's voice resonated, echoing through the blinding radiance. The energy shifted, every shadow quivered, the ground shook violently, and the delicate balance of power thinned. Then, in a stunning twist, the brilliance transformed, and there stood a figure veiled in. He cried, turning his accusing gaze at the twin. "You've corrupted everything." The twin stammered, caught between the truth of her own power and the inevitability of her father's fury. "But you were a part of this covenant," he thundered, voice rising as shadows crawled away from him, unable to acknowledge his brilliance. "And now, you will face the consequences." Suddenly, a razor-sharp scream sliced through the air. The moment hung still, charged with tension. Hannah turned toward Ethan, whose face had turned pale, realizing the magnitude of what was unfolding. "Hannah, this isn't what it seems." Before she could respond, the twin lunged at their father, shadows bursting forth like a violent wave. "You can't take this from me." They lunged. The shadows recoiled, collapsing around her. In a gasp, Hannah realized this was not just a fight, it was a reckoning, a confrontation fueled by unspoken betrayals. That realization hit like a thunderclap. It twisted her. She turned toward Ethan, heart racing as he moved closer, torn and raw. "You don't have to do this," he murmured, urgency wrapped around his words. "You can choose to be free of this darkness, of all of this." "I don't know what's real anymore." Hannah's voice trembled, confusion crashing against her resolve. "Fight!" he shouted, voice intense. "You're carrying the weight of this family. You can shape our futures. You can end this." For a brief moment, clarity washed over her. She needed to make a decision, to choose a path forward. But then, a new presence loomed suddenly, a dark shadow spilling across the ground, like cascading ink. An all-consuming force made itself known, effortlessly breaking through the light and dousing hope. "Hannah," it hissed, a voice chillingly familiar, dripping with disdain. "You think you can escape me? The shadow binds your fate. Blood calls to blood." It was the essence of darkness that had once consumed her father, a lingering present. It called, voice weaving through the shadows. "Power awaits you, sweet child. Bring forth your destiny." The battle within her reached a fever pitch. Just as despair gripped her, clarity struck, a fierce resolve igniting her depths. "No," she screamed, refusing to let the shadows claim her. But then, everything erupted. Light clashed against darkness, reverberating through the air. From the corner of her eye, she saw the twin falter, a glimmer of uncertainty in her eyes as shadows twisted violently around her. "What have you done?" The space exploded as light surged forth, and in a torrent of brilliant energy, the walls shook and cracked, sending shards of darkness scattering like dust. Instinctively, Hannah reached for Ethan with one hand, while extending the other toward her father, forcing herself to believe. And in a cataclysmic event, the shadows pulled back, revealing memories now ignited. The truth shattered the confines of her thoughts. It flickered a revelation. The darkness writhed with fear, pulsing with tenseness, and as the familiar laughter echoed through the chamber, everything about her family, her legacy, and this wretched pact began to shatter before her very eyes. "How could you lie to me?" she shouted, feeling fury swell. "You are part of this darkness." As the clouds of shadows turned, the figure closed in, revealing nothing but a smile behind twisted eyes. "Ah, yes, Hannah. I am the truth you never wanted to acknowledge." The horror cleaved through her heart, and dread cocooned around her. "What is this?" she whispered, panic threading through her voice. And there, amidst the chaos, she felt it deep within her, underneath all the lies. This would change everything. As the shadows danced, light flickered menacingly, but it was her own twin confronting her now, carving the darkness apart. And yet another voice broke through, echoing through every dark corner of the abandoned cellar. "The truth is revealed. A finale. Would it bring salvation or doom?" The shadows turned to face her, waiting, and so did she, amid the chaos, ready to uncover the heart of darkness. The storm of shadows swirled in the chamber, each flicker of darkness pulsing like a heartbeat. Hannah felt the weight of every eye upon her, a tidal wave of emotions crashing down. Right now, she stood at the threshold of everything: truth, power, darkness and light. The essence of her father loomed large, a twisted version of the man she had longed to connect with. "Embrace who you are," he shouted, his voice carrying a strange mix of authority and desperation. "Join me, and we can reclaim everything." "No." The word ripped from Hannah's lips, raw with emotion. "You don't get to decide that for me." The shadows began to thrum, as if her refusal had pierced through their dark veil. Ethan moved closer. It was then that her heart surged with fierce determination. "I'd choose my own path," she declared, feeling the warmth radiate from within, igniting a light that pushed back against the grasping shadows. "I will not carry the weight of your mistakes." In that moment, clarity blasted through her like the first rays of dawn. A surge of light emanated from her fingertips, flooding the room, illuminating the faces of everyone caught in this turmoil. The shadows screamed, recoiling violently. Her father's twisted smile faltered, disbelief washing over him. "You think this power makes you stronger?" he roared, but his voice shook as the light intensified, pushing the dark figures away. "Yes," she shouted back, defiantly, "and I will use it to break free." As her strength surged, her memories flooded back, her mother's soft voice, echoes of laughter, moments of love. She reached deep into herself for that connection. It was not just a fight against darkness, it was a reclamation. And just like that, the shadows recoiled, retreating back, pulled away from her light. The twin, witnessing the fallout, wavered under the brilliance. Their clash had turned from a fight to an awakening, a transformation that beckoned them all. "What have you done?" the twin gasped, eyes wide, realizing the pieces slipping from her grasp. Hannah stepped forward, feeling the surge of adrenaline and power thrumming through her. "I've chosen to break free of your family's chains. You can do the same." With a flick of her wrist, she summoned the light further, covering the darkness within. It glittered and flared, illuminating the space until the chamber felt like a sanctuary instead of a prison. The walls shone bright, and when the twin fell into the brightness, their features softened, the cruelty fading. "You think it's that simple?" she sneered, though her voice faltered. "Yes," Hannah replied firmly, pressing forward. "Everyone can choose the light over the dark. I will not let you dictate our futures." As she pushed past the shadows, her father began to crackle and tremble, the binding he had imposed on the pact beginning to dissolve under her resolve. "Hannah," he whispered, the uncertainty creeping into his voice. "You can't. You have no idea what that will do to us." "Well, maybe it's time to find out," she shouted, raising her hands. Light poured out, swirling the shadows away, moment by moment, until the darkness that had once engulfed her father shrank to nothing. With one final burst of radiance, it all came crashing down. The shadows shattered completely, splintering into shards that glimmered like stars. "No, no!" her father bellowed, confusion and rage consuming him. But it was too late. The remnants of their past unraveling, suffocating under the weight of light he had unleashed. Clarity washed over her, breathing life into spaces long ignored. She felt her mother's ghost beside her, supporting her resolve. "You do!" Unfurling within her was the truth she had always carried. The remnants of the room dimmed. The shadows crumbled to dust as they stepped into a new light, free of the binds of the shadows. But as they emerged, into the brighter world outside, Hannah felt a flicker in her heart. The shadows would always be a part of their family, an echo of the past that would never fully fade. And yet, within her, the strength of their choices shone brighter than any darkness. As they stepped out into the daylight, she couldn't suppress the questions swirling in her mind. What would become of her family? Would they find peace, or would old shadows linger? But for now, all she needed was hope, and she would carry it fiercely. And while the darkness may always lurk at the edges, she knew one thing for certain: she would never back down. Hannah turned to Ethan, and in the strength of their shared gaze, she felt it, the promise of a future richer than darkness. "Let's find our way back," she said.